That was just 8 seconds of your time. Short, I know. But did you know that 8 seconds is the average attention span for Gen Z? For baby boomers, it's 20, and for millennials, it's 12. Now, I'm sure we all have an idea on what to blame for this dramatic decrease that happened in only 66 years. Technology, addiction, and consumable media, better known as our culprit. Let me take you back to 3 summers ago. All my friends had phones and I wanted to be included, so as any kid would, I begged my parents for one. That summer, I got my first phone at the age of 11, and yeah, I did feel included. But regardless of that, I didn't know I fell into a trap. Or more accurately, I didn't realize that that little rectangle with the screen would plague my every waking moment. I found myself scrolling and consuming social media every single day. That summer, my average daily screen time was over 16 hours. That's more than double the amount of sleep we get a night. Safe to say, I was addicted. So with that, my name is Sarrah Fahmy, and I want to talk about something most of us can probably relate to: smartphone addiction. To get a better understanding of what smartphone addiction entails, we have to understand the line between smartphone use and overuse. Use of technology is often associated with negative consequences, such as ADHD or OCD. Now, this belief is justified to a degree. Studies suggest that prolonged use of media can impair emotion recognition and damage mental well-being. For adolescents and teens, constant exposure to the screen can damage brain development during vital stages of neural growth, potentially leading to some brain functions being underdeveloped. So for all the people in the audience who've been told by a parent that it's because of that dang phone, chances are they're not completely wrong. But hey, parents, you guys aren't off the hook either. You guys have Facebook, don't lie. Contrary to popular belief, adults can be just as vulnerable to the effects of screen exposure. Before I continue, could I have a raise of hands if you have a daily screen time of over 2 hours? So the majority then. What's interesting is that excessive screen time, even for adults, is defined as more than 2 hours a day. For brains of adults aged 18 through 25, this excessive screen time can cause difficulty processing memory and problem-solving skills. Another effect for adults is a decreased amount of gray matter volume, an area commonly associated with emotional regulation and self-control in the brain. But just as we established, these damages stem from overuse, not necessarily the device itself. In fact, smartphones can be helpful. This is where the Goldilocks hypothesis comes into play. According to this hypothesis, moderate levels of screen time, or 1 to 2 hours a day, can actually benefit functions like engagement, mental health, and the ability to form social connections. Studies have shown that individuals with 1 hour and 3-minute to 19-minute screen times prove to have higher psychological functioning compared to those who don't use devices at all. In other words, your phone isn't ruining your brain as long as you're using it in moderation, ideally 1 to 2 hours a day. So essentially, as long as your phone's battery isn't dying before you do, you're probably gonna be okay. All right, now that we know the difference between healthy use and excessiveness, let's get into some of the reasons behind the addiction. MPA, otherwise known as mobile phone addiction, is categorized into 3 principal dimensions: psychological mechanisms, neurobiological mechanisms, and technology designs. Dimension 1, psychological mechanisms. Let me introduce the compensatory internet use theory. This theory suggests that mobile phone use serves to help work around negative emotions and provide for mental needs. It has been discovered that smartphones are often used as a coping mechanism for depression, a prolonged state of low mood, even when constant use can worsen symptoms. So why do we still rely on our device knowing this? That's because the temporary feeling of happiness the user receives causes the user to then use it more in order to chase that feeling. On top of that, and trust me, as an introvert, I would definitely know, Some people prefer communicating digitally over in person. An example of this is social anxiety, a discomfort a person may feel in social situations. Tendencies like these can cause people to lean and depend on their smartphones for these social interactions, which, as I mentioned before, will strengthen addiction. Similar to this, shyness, low self-esteem, and alexithymia all encourage habitual use to build social interaction and reinforce self-esteem. Remember when I said that people often use their smartphones to chase that feeling of temporary happiness? Well, that's a prime example of the reward system. Think of it like training a dog. You teach the dog how to do a trick, and when they get it right, they get a treat. But in this case, the trick is screen time and the treat is distraction. The reward system is powered by serotonin and dopamine, commonly referred to as happy hormones. When the parts of your brain that receive reward and pleasure experience unusually high levels of dopamine surges, that's when you feel that so-called happiness. Continued use of smartphones sends changes in signals sent to your striatum, the part of your brain responsible for motor and control systems. In other words, the more you feed into that feeling you get when you scroll, the more and more stimulated you get by your phone. And by cause and effect, the less sensitive you become to things that aren't your phone. You become addicted. I don't want to speak for you all, but this is the moment I've definitely been waiting for. Now we finally get to put some of the blame on our actual phone. I'll take the liberty of assuming most people in the audience have the following apps on their phone. These apps are designed to keep you scrolling. I mean, it's kind of the point. Pinterest, my favorite out of the bunch and the one I definitely fall victim to the most, uses partially hidden images to increase curiosity and cause that endless scrolling. Twitter or X adds deliberate loading delay to increase anticipation in the user, which, yet again, causes them to hang around. Similar to many other apps, Instagram or Facebook's like button builds social validation, feeding into the psychological need, and Snapchat, a Gen Z favorite, uses snap streaks to pressure users into maintaining daily activity by offering a reward if they do so. Any addiction is hard to get rid of. Any addiction is hard to live with. And I know that smartphone addiction may seem on the lesser scale, but it is a struggle nonetheless. Approximately 50% of teens, people my age, reported feeling addicted. And when your phone is designed to keep you that way, finding balance gets so much harder. As someone who struggled with putting down the phone and picking up a book, I get it. Generic advice like keeping your phone out of sight never really worked for me. So I thought I'd share one thing that did. I got this advice from a friend, but some screen time apps are actually really helpful. Not the ones that give you that option to add 15 minutes, but the kind that only gives you one option: close the app. And when you're sitting around and can't access your favorite apps, you really have no other choice other than to get up and go do something. Who knows, that something may become a new hobby. For me, I picked up my sketchbook again. I want everyone to know that not every failure to put your phone down is a testament to lack of willpower. Sure, it may feel that way, and unfortunately, sometimes it just is. But in this day and age where companies are investing so much time and effort into creating the next best thing, it always just feels like it's you against all these industries and apps. And trust me, there's no one who's perfect, and there's definitely no one who will always win that battle. Unfortunately, it's been reduced to an A for effort situation. So the next time you get that urge to doom scroll on TikTok or something, I suggest doing something else you like. If you don't have any, this is your opportunity to find some. Remember, it doesn't have to be a black and white situation. You don't have to start avoiding your phone like it's the plague or something. Just find that balance. I promise you that life gets so much brighter when you stop looking at it through a screen. Thank you.